Here at Be Freaking Awesome, we believe that life is too short to be anything less than extraordinary. Join us as we explore what it means to live authentically, grow continuously, and have a blast while doing it. Let's get started. Welcome, everyone, to this week's episode of Be Freaking Awesome. I'm one of your hosts, Sami here with Angela Belford, and today we are picking up right where we left off our conversation last week about competition, and we're going to be talking about how this shows up with other people.
If you missed part one, go back and listen when you can, but don't worry, this one stands alone too. In this half, we're joined by Jake Thompson, Chief Encouragement Officer at Compete Every Day. He's a keynote speaker, one of my friends from National Speakers Association, and he's a leadership coach who helps people and teams learn to channel competition in a healthy way.
In this episode, we talk about everything from friendly rivalries to envy, keeping score, how to keep community, and what does it mean to play your own game instead of playing somebody else's. It's a great conversation.
It really is. Let's jump back in.
I want to circle back. I feel like good conversation. I want to talk about competition in how does that show up for people every day? We talked about competing against yourself. What are the practicalities though? Are we talking about, I will at times, I'm going to admit to something. I'm really proud of my typing speed. This is a really weird one. And I love that I have the fastest typing speed in the office. And it's such a bizarre, dumb thing to be like, no, I know I can type faster than anybody else in this office. And I'm going to and somebody will comment on it and then I'll be like, yeah, I should get a little faster. You're right. It's just
how many people send you the meme of the cat? That's just, have you seen that? Yeah, you know that.
Yes. And I as an adult
I did not know this about you.
I know. I'm admitting to the whole world for the very first time. I actually do play. I have at times. I've played Typer Shark, which was a keyboarding game, but I played as an adult. I pulled it back up, not from just my childhood, and was like, no. And I think my husband even was saying I think I could type faster than you. And I was like, let's go. We're going to. And I beat him and it was great. And I felt very proud of it.
So there's a number of ways we can go with this. As you can imagine, this is something I can talk about all day, every day. So first, I would say this. If we look at the word compete, if we get into the actual definition, it says to strive to gain or win something. Most times when we think of competition, we typically think of the outcome, the win, the thing you win, I'm better than you, I did all this. But in life, we don't control outcomes. Every one of us know this. And so the reality is the striving, which is the daily choice to pursue something. And so the way I typically look at it is life is a giant treadmill. It's always moving. And typically it's moving at a 0.0001 mile per hour. It's so slow that it's almost unnoticeable. But what happens is most people end up drifting through life. They start to go through the motions. We get distracted. We get busy. And when you do that long enough, it's kind of like standing on a treadmill. You fall off if you get there. But in life, you tend to fall into what I would call a default outcome. This is kind of that place that we all wind up to say, how did I get here? How did my high school blue jeans not fit anymore? How did my relationship get here? What happened to all the leads and prospects in my pipeline? Where did they all go? And it's simply because we just kind of go through the motions. Now, like a treadmill, the only way to stay on it is to strive forward, is to walk, is to put in forward motion. And so when I look at that, it's really the opposite of a default is a desired. It's where you want to be. It's what you want your business to look like, your relationships, your health, whatever the case may be. So you have to strive toward it each and every day with intentionality. And so when we talk competition, I'm looking at it, what am I doing to strive forward every day to get better, to be intentional, to show up differently? Because I know if I don't, everything else slowly fades. Your health, your relationships, your business, your life, everything is at a slow drift backwards. So I put that in one context. Now, majority of times we think competition with others. And there's something to that point. I mean, we could go on a whole tangent, I imagine, Sami and I, about how participation trophies have ruined society. And I could sit on that soapbox for a while because we reward no outcomes, and outcomes matter. Coaches in sports get fired. Businesses go bankrupt without sales. You have to win outcomes, but you still don't control it. You control the inputs and everything you show up in the process. But there's something about having people there. So, Angela, you made a really good comment about the member moment that NSA North Texas does, and at the start of every chapter, they have somebody get up and do like an 8-minute talk. And what's really cool about that is you get to see and hear other speakers, and there's some phenomenal storytellers in our group. There's some fantastic ways that people can tie a story into an applicable lesson. And what's cool about that is if you look at them as, oh, they're my direct competitor, you typically have one of two choices, right? You suddenly become focused on them. You're obsessed about them. I've got to beat them. I got to be better than them in this imaginary game of get the next speaking gig. Or if you see them in the right lens, you say, man, they did that really well. Let me break it down what they did and what I can learn from, right? The difference is where your identity and your worth comes from. When we place our value and our worth in the outcome and how we measure up against people, you're never going to win. It's the game of comparison, right? Unhealthy comparison. There's always someone ahead of you. There's always someone behind you. Someone ahead of you, you're always chasing. You're never going to be Jeff Bezos, right? The person behind you is the reason to take your foot off the gas and become very complacent. Better than so-and-so, all of that, right? Mm-hmm. And so we play this, we stay in this place more than anything because our ego wants to be protected. Like if we think about it, right? We feel threatened when we see someone better than us because our ego is saying, ooh, you're inferior. My worth is not validated on how much better of a storyteller they are, but I want to learn from them. And so that's why everything we talk competition really goes back to like, what are you pursuing and where do you find your value and worth, which should be in your inputs, the things in your control. And so for us, it really just starts with this idea of what's the game you care about winning? Like Angela, you do coaching. There's speakers out there that have zero interest in getting into coaching. And so if you two were competing against each other for a value of where am I better, where are you better, you're playing the wrong game because that's not the game you care about winning. Yet that's what we tend to do in life. We start playing other people's games. Now let's flash forward to competition with others. When you're in the right group, like in NSA North Texas, and you have some of those relationships with people, well, then you push each other. And if you think about Duke women's basketball coach Kara Larson went viral, I don't know, 4 years ago for a speech she gave her team about the difference between working hard and competing. And she said, if I were to put you on a line and have you run sprints and said, make it in this time, you would work hard to do it. You would make the time. If I put you on the line with 2 to 3 of your teammates, you would run faster. The reason you'd be run faster because you'd be competing with your teammates. Now, the beauty of that is you're still on the same team. You're trying to achieve the same goals. The ancient Greeks understood this. This is why they created the Olympics, because they saw competition as a way to reveal greatness, which would honor their gods. So it goes way back to this idea that other people push us to be better. And so healthy competition is great because it forces an industry, it forces a business, it forces an individual to level up, to stay in the game. Without competition, customer service would suck. Because nobody would be trying to be better about creating a great experience for you. They'd be like, well, take it or leave it. There's no point, right? There's a monopoly. So there's all sorts of aspects around this, but really fundamentally, I think if you can derive your confidence and worth from how you strive toward where you want to be, knowing the game you want to play, then you look at other people that they would think are competitors, other speakers for me, and you just look and learn and you build relationships and you have conversations like I had this morning with Hannah Pryor, who's a rock star in NSA and a dear friend of mine. We're talking shop, open playbook to each other. Because even though we go up for some of the same gigs, like you don't get it every year. We're not in competition. We just want to help each other rise to the top and get better. So that was a long roundabout. I'm telling you, we could go down rabbit holes all day with this.
I love this. And I love the idea of with other people, you're made better. I experienced something similar with a couple of friends of mine. We went to college together. We've stayed connected, even though we now live all over the country. There is something about when we share like the passion projects we're working on, how our work is going. Are we satisfied at work? Are we not satisfied at work? Does work suck? That's like, wait a minute, my life could be better. And there is a really nice, beautiful spot where it's not about comparison. It is about seeing what's possible. And I think that it helps remind us like, no, where we are does not have to be where it will always be. And we have opportunity to grow. And it's a camaraderie and rooting each other on in each other's journeys. And one person is establishing their own therapy practice and another person is starting to write a novel and all of these things. And it's very different. And I'm building a training and development business. Those are three very different things, but we all help to sharpen each other and to say, no, I'm going to encourage you to pursue greatness for the sake of pursuing greatness. And there's one person in particular has a kind of unhealthy relationship with her family that continue to ask her, why are you trying? What's the point? There's no reason to keep pushing yourself in all these ways. And we get to be inputs in her life to say, no, it is worthwhile to try. It is worthwhile to give it your all, even if the people around you. So sometimes it's the people directly next to you. Sometimes it's people who are running races that are different than yours, but are just fans of the sport. Like they just want to root for you. So if you don't have that peer, you probably have somebody in your life who will still root for you in your own competition with yourself, even if they don't know your sport, even if they're like, I don't maybe know the ins and outs of this particular track and field event, but I'm here screaming for you on the sideline, whatever it is, ready to go.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, and I love that. I can talk environment and relationships all day because they're crucial, right? We've heard the Jim Rohn, you're the average of the five. No real science behind that, but
wait,
Dr.
you
have it.
on.
We have an episode about this
where we dug into the research.
Let's
and
go.
We found
Sammy
out that it's worse than that. It's
Sammy wanted
intense.
to call BS on this to say there's no science behind it. It's not real. And unfortunately, in my digging in to try find BS, it's worse. It's you are most like the 100 people that you are around, and the 5 people's 5 people's 5 people. So like
the
if you're
amplification.
the friend of a friend of a friend starts smoking, you are more likely to start smoking.
No,
If a
there
friend
is
of a
actual
friend-
research. Yeah,
Yeah.
there is actual
So
research. We did a podcast on it.
Send me this.
Yeah,
I will.
Send me it. I'm all in. The quote I always go back to because of the Jim Rohn, like everybody kind of knows it, is Dr. David McClellan at Harvard, who was a social psychologist. And his research showed that 95% of our successes and failures can be attributed to the people we habitually associate with.
Yes.
So which is huge, right? Plays into all of this. The reason I say that is like in my Compete Everyday keynote, what we take a lot of teams through, and really even my next book that's coming out next year is kind of a dive into it. But we talk about learning to compete with yourself. Like, how do you actually do it? Understanding what's in your sphere of control and why having that internal locus of control is a game changer for people from an ownership standpoint. But then the last piece of it's your environment, your community, and the importance of you need other people in your life, just like you talked about, Sammy, to bring out your best potential. Because just like working out, if you get into an environment where you're pushed from other people who celebrate your wins, which it sounds like your group, you've got a group that genuinely wants to see each other win, which is what people are craving. And I don't think as many people have as they really think they do, because I think we have a lot of people around us that love to give the golf clap when you do well, but really it's a little more envious. They're just being Southern polite, as we might say, right? But having that environment is vital to you elevating into your best self, being awesome, because they bring it out in you or they remind you when you forget.
Yeah. And that envious part, we actually have a conversation that there are times where I am jealous in the best way for you, for this lived experience. Like it is an excitement. The person whose family doesn't always support her, she won a program. She was accepted into a program where she got to go teach English in another language for 2 years. And it was very prestigious, super exciting. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm like jealous that you get to go there and have this amazing experience. I'm so excited for you. And there was a difference in the like, it's probably jealous probably is the wrong word for it, but it is this like just deep happiness for her, while also like, man, what an incredible experience. And I want incredible experiences. I'm going to continue pursuing. I'm not going to go teach English in Germany to German kids because I don't know a lick of German like she does, but I'm going to go do something else amazing.
But I would say that you did, in fact, have an experience because you were one of the few people that she talks about the fact that you were one of the few people that stayed really intentionally connected. And so Sami would send her messages, tell me about it, tell me how it's going. And so Sami did get to kind of live vicariously. And I think you got the best versions of the stories. If something big and cool happened, she knew you wanted to hear about it. And so she would send you a message and tell you. And so in some ways, like your desire for her best actually did enrich your life because you know there's weird things you know about Germany because you're a friend. I've experienced that from like friends of Sami's, and I'll be like, oh no, like there's this thing, right? Like I can think of a play that I have seen that I wouldn't known about if you hadn't had those experiences and the people that you surround yourself and the diversity of people that you surround yourself with, so that you're not just living in a thought bubble. And I think that's what I love. I love hanging out with people that think about things differently than I do. I love hanging out with people that are like have very different perspectives. Religion. I love talking to people of different faith perspective. One of my friends and I were like, oh my gosh, he was so mad. People in my faith, they just don't take it very seriously. And I'm like, well, that's funny because people in my faith sometimes don't take it very seriously. And I go, I bet if we met somebody from that faith and we name like 2 other faiths, and I bet humans sometimes don't take their faith seriously. And it was this point of connection on very divergent ideas. I don't know, that's competition, but it is how I have fulfillment and enriching life.
Well, in religion,
it's connection.
And I think in religion, people do view that as competition in some ways.
Yeah.
They're like, I gotta win more people over to my
Southern Baptist, Methodist, non-denominational, Catholics, Jewish, you name it. It's all a competition.
Who's got
Always
the biggest light show this Sunday or whatever
listen,
it is?
Come to Dallas. Come to Dallas at Christmas time. It's a battle of the Christmas program pageants.
That's exactly right.
Okay, so I wanted to point out something you said there, Sami, because it stood out to me. What you described is what I would call, and I'm coining the phrase right now, encouraging envy. Because envy is like you're wanting what someone else has, whereas jealousy is like a fear of losing something to someone else. Like there's a lot more like feelings of inferiority and negativity that are around it. And envy is just like, I almost covet it. I want it. And so I say it from an encouraging standpoint because you want it in the best way for them. And from a funny note, like my best friend, the guy that taught me into starting Compete, a fun part about that story is he and I had saved up for a guy's trip to New Zealand, which was our bucket list trip when we lived together. And he comes in, we had this before I'd really launched Compete. I had this money. We were going to take this trip, and he comes in one day and he had gotten laid off. And the day before, one of my consulting clients had gone under. So I was like, let's go. Let's take the trip. This is New Zealand. This is the sign. We don't have jobs now. Let's go. And he goes, I actually am spending the budget on an engagement ring for Kristen, his wife.
Wow.
And I was like, awesome. And me being a small town Texas kid, my thoughts at that time of international travel are like hostile and taken. Like, I'm not going. Like something's going to happen to me. So I ended up spending that money on the box of shirts that went in the trunk of my car that started Compete. So like, it's got a really cool story. But about 4 years later, I'm building this brand. He calls me and he sounds like he's run over my dog. Like he is like something is wrong on the phone. And he's like, I got to talk to you. And I'm like, dude, what's up? He said, well, I'm getting ready to go back to school to get my doctorate. And Chris and I are moving. Yeah. What's up? He's like, we're going to go to New Zealand before I start my job. And I was like, that's awesome. I'm so like, I wish I could go. That's so amazing. He was like, I was so scared to tell you because this was going to be our trip. And I was like, no, like I'm excited for you. I wish I get like all the same feelings, right? That healthy envy. And so we had that same conversation of it. And I was like, were you scared I was going to be upset? He's like, bro, I didn't know. He was like, that was like our trip. And now I'm doing it. I said, we couldn't go because I spent the ring. And now I'm taking the one who has the ring. And like, it's all the things.
But here's the thing is there that story can have such a different outcome. Yeah. And there's people who are like super bitter because the guy took the trip and didn't take me with them. And I'm really upset about that. And I'm like, Just
miserable would
how
that be?
do you want to show up in the world? You know, how do you want to be in the world? Because there is, like, you literally could tell such a different version of that story, and somebody would say it's true, right? This is this horrible thing that happened to me, when in fact it's just how we think about it, right? It's the story we tell ourselves. And because you were so excited for your friend, and you could have been like, man, that ruined our friendship, I can't believe he's taking his wife instead of taking me. Can you believe that guy? We used to be friends and now we're not. I mean, I've heard that story in with the different circumstances, and I just like go, well, that's one way to think about it.
I know.
Right.
If you
But
have a
that's a
very zero sum
self-centered,
game,
it's all about me. That's
yeah.
my
Yeah.
ego. It's my ego's hurt because you didn't make me the center of attention. Like
Mm.
that ego gap is like the difference between drifting and competing is your ego. Because when you
Yeah.
compete, you make mistakes and you mess up. And because you talked about at the very beginning, Angela, growth is messy. And we go
It
through that
is.
process of growing. And most people don't want to be seen as anything other than perfect.
Yeah. I want
So-
to ask about a little bit tangent thought in my brain,
Yeah.
kind of keeping score and the art of it, I think, because the fun anecdote is that when my husband and I were dating, there was a post-it note that lived on his refrigerator that kept our win-loss record, of like who had the most wins and who had the most losses. And we had a point where we were like, I don't think this is the healthiest for our relationship. I do think we need to take the post-it note down. What's funny is that now, almost 10 years married, we actually have an app that keeps track of our board game wins and losses.
Okay.
And I'm like, we basically
We're
do the
talking board
same.
games. I was
I
like,
do.
what kind of like
Board
where are we
games.
keeping
Board
score? Yeah.
games.
Literally,
Board-
my score is in there from board games.
on the board game app. Yes, I have over 109 different boxed board games. We go crazy into the nerdiness of this type of competition and the strategy thinking and all of that. But at different times, the concept of keeping score can be really helpful and cannot be helpful. And when I to show you a little bit about my childhood and to show everybody else,
Oh dear. I know
my
this is-
mom was very, very intense about playing the game of Risk. And she was like, I will only play Risk if you accept that you are going to lose. And when you lose, you can't cry. I can't handle it. I won't play with you if you're going to cry whenever I beat you. I was like, whoa.
Now, I said, no, that's not exactly how I said it. I
it's
say
roughly.
I only play to win. I'm not saying I will always win. I said, but I only play to win. It's to
I'm
me,
not
it's
taking
not
it
a
easy on you.
fun game. Like there's a lot of games when we were teaching our kids as they were growing up. Oh, they're learning math skills, they're learning taking turn skills, they're learning all these things, and I was fine. I don't care. Win, lose, like let's all make sure we're having a good time. We do keep score, but if I lose, no big deal. Risk, I will only play if I'm playing to win. I didn't say I would always win. I said I only play to win.
I've only played to win, and you can't cry if you lose. Those were that was definitely a very specific said out loud to me. And I think I was like, she had gone a long while. She like wouldn't play it. And I was thinking I was 15, 16 something. I was like, Mom, I've practiced with friends. I've played other things. I'm ready. I'm going to take you on. Let's play Risk. I promise I won't cry. And we get to the end and Mom wins. And I remember just like, okay, Mom, good game. I think I'm going to go to my room for a little bit. Completely unrelated reasons. I'm not going to cry. I need some time alone. And I went and I sobbed because I thought I was so sure I could beat her this time. It did motivate me, that loss and that keeping the score. Like there are things about it that I'm like, no.
And my son still remembers the very first time he beat me. Like it is a moment in his life when
that's why outcomes matter.
First time
Yes.
he beat me.
Losing is not always the worst thing to happen to you.
No.
There are so many times where losing prompts us. Now, another thing where it was not so good, where I was like, I'm going to win all of this. When I played soccer, I was our team's best goalie for a very long time. I broke my leg. I had to, rehab that for a little while. And when I came back, I was no longer the best goalie. And I spent about one season as the second best goalie on the team before I said, I'm out. If I can't be the best, I don't want to play at all. And I switched and I just stopped playing. And I do regret that for teenage Sami, that instead of taking the challenge to push, I just said, fine, if I can't be the best, I quit. Like, I'm not going to even try.
And I have it in all of the different ways. I'm not a
Yeah.
perfect human,
No,
obviously.
no. We're aligned. Like I went
Yeah.
through some similar stuff in going to college for football, and so I can relate. And Angela's heard a little bit of that story, and so here's part of the problem, right?
Yeah.
Our identity is wrapped up in being the best, not in
Mm.
getting better.
Yep.
My fourth book that's coming out in the spring is really around the concept of that, of why the people that pursue becoming their best fare far better than the people who are obsessed with being the best.
Mm.
And what's interesting is the people that are obsessed with being their best often become the best,
Right.
versus the ones who are chasing the best. It's a moving target, and you have a situation like we do, right? Where, well, if I'm not going to be number one, I'm not even going to try. Why bother? What's
Yep.
the point? I don't want to put forth the effort. Versus, how do I be the best version of myself? I have my third book that comes out in November is a kind of a short story, fictional story that from a high level talks about a high school football kid going through this same situation.
Mhm.
And it's an introduction to our framework before the fourth book that really dives into the research comes out in the spring. But it's something a lot of us struggle with. So when it comes to keeping score, in relationships, never do.
Yep.
Now, board games all day.
Yeah.
But in like, well, I
Who
took out
did the
trash
most-
last week? Yeah, who did
Yeah.
this and who did that? That's a dangerous game. Or the idea of like, and you have to watch it when we're all in the position we're in of like, you want to give freely and want to help people. But like, I don't want to be like, well, I sent 2 leads to Angela for speaking gigs and she hasn't sent me anything this year. Like, I don't want to be that, because that's an exhausting game you're never going to win. And I heard that so well put by John Maxwell past year, where he was talking about like keeping scores in relationships. But in life, you should keep scores. You should know if you're 21st on the sales team, you should know you're 21st. You should also look at what are the people that are 16 and 17 doing versus, well, I'm never going to be number one. Why bother? Right? That's what happens. That's when we start comparing ourselves to that, we fall into the why bother trap. That you've experienced it, I've experienced. I'm never going to be there. Why put forth the effort? I'm never going to beat mom in risk. What's the point? But you need data. You need to know where you measure up, because that's the only way you can improve. The people that avoid positions of failure, it's really they're protecting their ego. The ones who seek it out are like, I just need information. I need to know when you put me on stage for it's my first keynote and I play the video and then I play somebody else next to me who's killing it. And I'm like, they're a lot better. What do I need to learn? What do I need to work on? How do I improve? Just like playing Risk. You left, you were upset, but you're like, okay, what did she do differently? What do I need to do differently? How do I play it better next time? Right? It's that little by little you keep getting better, versus if she were just like, I'm going to let them win. You're actually robbing them of the opportunity to build the muscles, mental or physical, to win. And that's, I mean, we've got a whole series of books over the last couple of years of the coddling of the American mind and bad therapy and all of these things that have been written about our generation of taking away obstacles from kids, whether it's a Zamboni parent or a lawnmower parent or helicopter parent. And we've given them the win without the work required. And so now they're struggling because life is tough. Life requires your rankings and outcomes, and we're tracking sales and we're tracking scores, but you need to know that. And so for us, like, it's be aware of the game you want to play, but know how you keep score in the game. And don't look at the score as a determinant of who you are, how much value you have, even your long-term potential. The score essentially tells you, where are you today? And then what do you need to do to improve?
I also think there's to what we talked about earlier. There's 2 things you can compare to. You can compare, am I 21st on the list and there's somebody else who's 16, everything above 21. And where was I at what was my number at last year? Maybe last year I was 19th on the list. This year I'm 21st on the list, but I doubled my sales. That is data. That doesn't necessarily, I'm like, okay, great. Well, something happened with others. I should start to tune in and try to figure that out. But I also did improve in certain pieces of this. Reading different books, the gap and the gain is something that has been on my mind a lot lately about, are you focused on the difference between you and your vision, or the where you've come, while also keeping your eye on the vision? You keep your eye on the vision, but you got to measure yourself based on where you've been coming from, not based on how far you are to the goal.
Yeah, I mean, in
really
full
like that.
transparency, like I was telling somebody this yesterday, my total gigs are down from last year.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's a number of things in and out of my control that have influenced that. My revenue's up.
Right.
So I look at it both ways, right? Okay, why are my gigs down? Oh, because I know during these seasons, I didn't prospect the way I needed to because I was traveling and prioritized other things of writing the next 2 books and all of this. Okay, so what do I need to do versus like, oh my God, I'm down. What's going to happen? Like, where do I go? Like, you can easily focus on that. All the tracker and everything I track does gives me the data to say, when did I get off track? How did I get off track? What do I need to go back to? Or what's working well I need to keep doing?
And maybe your revenue is up. Sorry, Angela, I keep jumping in because you increase your price. And so you're
Yeah.
doing less gigs for more value
Yeah.
and it's a higher thing. Angela, what were you going to say? I keep cutting you off. So sorry.
I have no idea now. Like,
We got on a roll.
There were 9 thoughts in a row that I lost. Sorry. Keep going. Sorry.
Okay.
I know. Nope. I've lost the energy of it. Sorry.
We talked relationships. We talked keeping score.
Yep,
We talked
nope.
that you are a risk master.
I am not, because now they play team against me, so I don't play anymore.
No.
Because they won't
so they
play,
can't beat you individually? What happened
Yeah,
here?
they won't play pure. So I'm like,
this is
no,
not
y'all,
me.
no.
Can
Okay.
I clarify? This is
No.
not me. This is
No,
my
no,
husband's
no.
energy.
No, you can't. Okay, so here's the other thing about keeping score is that when we look to others, what I've experienced in NSA is that I had a dream and a goal from when I was like, I don't know, 21, I think. No, I'm lying. I was pregnant. So I was 26 when I set the goal. I want to be a professional speaker. That's what I want to be. And you know what NSA has taught me? I don't. It turns out I am a professional speaker in that I get paid to speak, but I don't want that to be my singular focus. You mentioned that earlier with me coaching. I've gotten to spend time with people who that's what they do 100% of the time. And I have had to stop and like almost talk to my 26-year-old self and be like, hey, the game's changed. And it turns out that your desires have changed, your goal has changed. And I always measured and I always was chasing that score against this ultimate dream. And I guess, they say, make sure that, if you're climbing the ladder, that the ladder's not up against the wrong wall, or, that you know where you're going. And I think that's one of the things that we can learn when we keep score, when we hang around people. Now, I say that I'm still in NSA because I do want to learn the business of speaking. I want to be as efficient as I can because I don't want to do it 72 times a year. I want to do it, 8 to 10 times a year. And you got to be really efficient to be able to do that.
Angela, you've also told me that you're in NSA for the same reason of the community of you want to be among people who are doing phenomenal, that the room you're in is other people who are chasing big goals. And that same type of, I'm running treadmills. If you're at the gym and you got a bunch of people like running hard, feels a little easier to run hard, whereas the line everybody's kind of walking.
In a room where I feel like a rookie some of the time. A lot of the time in NSA, I feel like a rookie, and I love that feeling. When I'm established in your career, you've been doing this for 26 years, and I'm like, yes, man, I feel like those guys are so far advanced, which is just, it gives me something to spur onto. It gives me somebody to go, ooh, I like how they do that thing. Oh, I want to practice. I went to video training a couple of weeks ago and was watching and just enamored so much with how people are constantly wanting to improve themselves. You're right. It is the room.
Well, and the beauty of the business, and it's not easy, but it's not overly complicated. The same things that can make you successful as a speaker make you successful as a coach or as a consultant or building a training business. We like to overcomplicate it, but it's really that. And so being in those rooms is helpful from a learning standpoint, I would imagine, just there. The other beauty is kind of like a coaching, a consulting, and a lot of businesses, it can look so very different. One of my former coaches, she did 20 gigs a year at $20K a pop. And she was like, I don't want to do more. I want to be home 4 to 5 months a year with my kids. I want to spend their summers with them and holidays. And we know other people who are like, I want 100 gigs a year. And so that's where you want to be clear on what's the game I want to play.
Yes.
and not trying to play someone else's game. Not when you hop on a treadmill and everybody else is on the treadmill and you're like, man, I got to beat everybody. And the guy next to you is trying to train for a marathon and you're like, this is day one. You'll get murdered. The person
Right.
on your right is like, this is the first time I've walked in 6 months because I've had knee surgery or whatever. And you're like, well, I'm beating them. Versus like, what's the race I need to be training for and running? And so that's where it's really helpful. And to your point, Angela, being in the rooms with the other people and then being intentional with, as you're in the room, who am I cultivating relationships with in here is just as important, because everybody around you doesn't mean everybody, or excuse me, just because everybody's around you doesn't mean everybody needs to be in your circle or your
That's right.
council, because some of them are just there trying to figure it out as well, or, you know, whatever the case may be. So you're just super mindful of all of those rooms you're in and how you go into those rooms
Yeah.
with curiosity versus like, I got to prove something.
Yes. I love that.
Jake, this has been such a rich conversation. I feel like we hit so many different points of this. I'm super excited. If you wanted to leave listeners with maybe one piece of encouragement, what would you want to leave people with?
Yeah, I would say be intentional with the small choices. Like, changing your life can feel like the most overwhelming thing in the world. Becoming your best self sounds like such an abstract thought, but really what it is stacking Lego blocks. Little bitty choices every day. Today I didn't hit the snooze button. Or today I made a cold call and I'm terrified of picking up the phone and cold calling. Or today I just went for a walk around the neighborhood and I haven't worked out. Like, if you stack Lego blocks every single day intentionally, you can build a skyscraper, but you have to stack them every single day. And so what I think a lot of us tend to do is overcomplicate growth. We overcomplicate success. We overcomplicate change because we think it's a big magic tipping point. I've done this in my career, when in reality, it's just, what's the little thing I can do today to be more intentional, to move toward a desired outcome personally, professionally, that I want? Because if I don't, I'm just going to drift a little bit closer to a place I don't ultimately want to wind up. How do I keep my mindset like Angela does, that I'm going to back into the parking spot in this garage because I know when I try to make the choice later, I'm going to be too tired to make the one I want. And so how do I set myself up tomorrow and help tomorrow's version with a little bitty choice today?
Oh, that's so good. Where can people find you?
Yeah, best place, my website is competeeveryday.com. And then I tend to hang out really on two platforms. You'll find me on LinkedIn or on Instagram. And my usernames on both are Jake Thompson Speaks.
I love it. Thank you so much. This has been such a rich conversation. I'm really excited to get to share it with everybody and hear everybody's feedback and thoughts. If you have contradictory statements or challenges or agreements, we welcome those too. But I love when people disagree with us and then share those with us. We want to hear from you. So send us a message on any social media platform. Go to our website. We'd love to hear what you guys think about the episodes and what topics you guys want to hear more about. Thank you all for listening. And until next time, we hope you guys go be freaking awesome.
I love that encouraging envy idea. Like, I always just think of envy as bad. And so I love the reframe. And there are people that I definitely, they kind of encourage me to, like, if they can do it, I can do it. And not in the way of like, oh, I'm comparing their best from my worst, but like literally like, oh, I know them and I can, it motivates me.
I love that. And I think that the idea that competition isn't actually something that has to divide us, but it is something that pushes us to be better and pushes us to, you know, to compete a little better. Like the different teams that if they had to race on their own in a timed race, they only performed so well. But whereas if they had their teammate next to them, they're like, oh no, I'm going to push a little bit harder. I love that idea that it can help us just add that extra oomph to what we're doing.
When I was winning my Mary Kay car, which it is the 30th anniversary of me.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it's 30 years since I have won a car with Mary Kay Cosmetics. Started talking about that on LinkedIn a lot lately. Anyway, I I had a running buddy. That's what we called it. And so one of my friends, Kathy Robertson, we're still friends to this day, but we were both working to earn our car at the same time. And it absolutely, we were in, what's cool is we were in different units. So we weren't direct competitors. So we had different directors, but we would like talk on the phone every day. Okay, what's on your plan? How many appointments do you have scheduled? How many people have you talked to? And it was like, I knew that if I let the day get away and I didn't return my 5 phone calls for follow-up, I was going to be super embarrassed to like talk to Kathy. And we both wanted to finish at the same time. And a similar thing happened when I finished my directorship. My friend Terry also was finishing her directorship at the same time. And we pushed each other and ended up having joint big parties for our directorship at the same time. So I have seen how that healthy competition, and I've seen it as more of like a running buddy. And it's funny that he talks about like when you're running with your teammate and how that can keep you challenged. So it absolutely, I saw it work for me a lot. And it's probably why I'm not afraid of competition. Yeah.
I love it. Well, if this conversation challenged you or inspired you, we really would love to hear about it. You can send us a message pretty much anywhere. You can email us podcast@befreakingawesome.com. That's the single letter B, freakingawesome.com. Or you can message us on any social media platform that we are. We would really love to hear from you. Really, really, we would. You're not going to talk to a bot or an assistant or anything. You're going to talk to one of us, which is pretty cool. You have direct line access to these podcast hosts.
Also, like share these. You know you love it. You know you love how entertaining we are. And so feel free, if you didn't go back, if you didn't listen to part 1, feel free to pick that up. And we really appreciate you guys. Like, this is fun because you guys stop us in the hall and say, hey, I was listening to that episode, or hey, I shared that with a friend. So really thank you for listening to us. And as always, we hope that you go be freaking awesome.